I wish I could say. It all started with something dramatic. A scream in the night, a bloody handprint on the window, anything with a sense of forewarning. But no, it began with a Zoom meeting. I woke up feeling off. Not hungover exactly, but like I hadn't slept at all. My throat was dry, as if I'd been snoring with my mouth wide open. My eyes stung, lids grainy and red. I sat up slowly, the bedsheets clinging to me with that strange stickiness that comes after a fever dream. The first thing I noticed was the smell. Sweet. Too sweet. Like old frosting or lotion gone rancid. I blinked at my pillow. There were smears on it, white and greasy, like makeup, or maybe, I don't know, thick sunscreen, the kind your grandma wears that never really rubs in. It was smeared along the edge, where my face had been resting. I rubbed my temples and grabbed my phone. I was already late for a meeting with my new manager. And this was my first week back in the office after switching to remote only. The Zoom app loaded sluggishly. As my face popped up in the corner of the screen, I winced. My eyes were bloodshot. There was something smudged near my left temple, possibly more of that gunk from the pillow. I brushed at it, pretending to smile at my coworkers as they appeared one by one. I was grateful my camera resolution was bad. We were about 15 minutes in, discussing task priorities for Q3, when my manager asked me to upload a recent screenshot of a layout prototype we'd been working on. No problem. I opened my gallery. I tapped the photo icon, and then I stopped breathing. There it was, first image in the roll. Not a screenshot, not even remotely work-related. It was a picture of me, but not just me. I was lying on my back, eyes closed, in what was clearly my bed, right down to the sunflower print comforter I'd had since college. My mouth was slightly open. One arm was thrown above my head, the other across my bare stomach. I was naked. Surrounding me were 4 figures, human-shaped, but that's about all I could say for sure. They were dressed in matte black hoodies. Their faces were painted in grotesque clown makeup, white base, black lips curled unnaturally high, dark hollows around their eyes. The one closest to me had a red circle on its nose. Not a prosthetic, a painted one, dripping down just a little, like blood. They were sitting on the edge of my bed and sofa nearby. One was looking directly at the camera. Another was pointing at me. The worst part, I looked peaceful, asleep, completely unaware. I dropped the phone. It hit the desk with a clatter, startling someone on the call. "You okay?" My manager asked. I fake coughed. "Yeah, sorry. Just dropped something." But my hands were shaking. My heart was thudding so loud, I could hear it in my ears. I picked up the phone again, ready to delete whatever this sick image was, except it wasn't there. Not in the gallery, not in the trash, nowhere. Instead, the next image showed my coffee table from last night. A bottle of melatonin, an open water bottle, a Netflix screen paused halfway through the haunting of Hill House. I hadn't taken that photo. I knew I hadn't. Suddenly, the clown image popped back up on its own, full screen. My thumb hadn't even touched the screen. I almost threw the phone. A wave of nausea hit me like a truck. I stood, knocking over my chair. Everything all right?" I didn't answer. I stumbled to the bathroom, splashed cold water on my face. I stared at myself in the mirror. My eyes were worse than I thought. My pupils were dilated unevenly, and there was a faint smear of white across my cheek. I touched it. It felt waxy, like grease paint. Makeup. I ran back into the bedroom and examined my pillow more closely. The white stuff smelled chemical. Definitely not lotion. Definitely not mine. I don't wear makeup to bed, and I sure as hell don't own clown makeup. I checked my sleep tracker. That's when I really freaked out. The data showed that I'd gotten out of bed at 2:12 and walked 947 steps around the apartment. Between 2 and 4 I was logged as lightly active, even though I remembered nothing. No dreams, no bathroom trips, nothing, just darkness. And now, a photo of me, unconscious, naked, surrounded by things. I dressed quickly, threw on whatever I could find. I didn't even change out of my pajama bottoms. I just needed out of my apartment, out of my head. I needed someone to tell me this wasn't real. At the police station, I tried to explain. They barely looked up from their computer screens. One officer glanced at my phone, raised an eyebrow. Could be AI generated, he muttered. There's a lot of deepfake stuff going around these days. No, I said, louder than I meant to. No, this was me. My bed, my sheets. That's my apartment. I didn't fake this. Another officer sighed. Pranks happen. Maybe someone slipped something in your drink. Roommate messing with you. I live alone. Silence. The younger one shrugged. Look, unless you've got proof of breaking and entering, there's not much we can do. You said there's no sign of forced entry. No, but then it's probably just a hoax. Try not to stress. Weird things go viral every day. I left the station more shaken than when I entered. If the cops didn't believe me, who would? And yet the photo haunted me. I didn't imagine it. I couldn't have. It wasn't just a dream or some AI prank. It was too real, too specific, and I felt it in my bones. That wasn't the last photo. It was just the beginning. I went home because I didn't know what else to do. The air in my apartment felt different when I stepped back inside. Still, heavy, the kind of stillness that follows a power outage or something worse. Like the air itself had been holding its breath, waiting for me to return. I walked slowly through the rooms, phone flashlight in one hand, baseball bat in the other. Don't ask me why I grabbed it. It was just instinct. The apartment was small, only 600 square feet, but I checked every closet, every cabinet, every inch under the bed. Nothing, except for one thing. The water bottle on my coffee table from the night before, still open. I always closed them. It was a dumb habit drilled into me after knocking one over on my laptop back in college. I didn't drink from it. I didn't even touch it. Something about it made my skin crawl. That was when my phone buzzed again. A new photo had appeared in my gallery. Same scene, same bed, same angle, except this time, I wasn't asleep. I was awake. My eyes were open. My head was turned toward the camera. The clowns were in the same positions, unmoving, but my face had changed. My expression wasn't one of terror or even confusion. It was blank, emotionless. My lips were curled into a half smile I didn't recognize. Like something else was behind my eyes. I dropped the phone. For a moment, I considered smashing it, just driving a hammer into the screen and crushing the thing to bits. But I didn't. I needed it for proof, for something. I took a video of myself, time-stamped it, even said the date out loud, like I was on some kind of hostage tape. I held up my driver's license, blinked a few times to show I was sober and alert. I don't know what I was trying to prove, that I was real, that this was real. I saved the video and uploaded it to my cloud storage. Then I turned off the lights and tried to sleep. Emphasis on tried. Every sound made me flinch. Every creak, every soft pop from the wood in the walls. I wrapped myself in blankets like armor, knife under my pillow, eyes fixed on the door. And yet, Somehow, I fell asleep. When I woke up, it was 4:11. I didn't remember closing my eyes, but the lights were back on, and my phone was in my hand, unlocked, gallery open, another photo, same room, same bed, but this time there were 5 figures, 4 clowns, and one taller one, standing at the foot of the bed, out of focus. Its face was obscured by shadow, but its outline was sharp. It looked wrong, like it had been added after the fact. Its feet not even touching the floor properly, like it was floating. No, like it was watching. I screamed, just outright screamed, throat tearing, loud enough that someone probably heard me. Nobody knocked. Nobody cared. I packed a bag in under 10 minutes. Just a few clothes, my laptop, toothbrush, and the one thing I now carried constantly, a Faraday bag for my phone. I'd read somewhere that it blocks signals. I wasn't sure what was happening, but I figured that if something was accessing my phone remotely, this might help. I booked a cheap motel 10 miles out of town, paid in cash, gave a fake name. No GPS, no login to Wi-Fi, phone off, no trace. I stared at the motel walls like they could bleed. The wallpaper was peeling. The ceiling fan clicked like a clock counting down. Still, I finally slept. When I woke up, it was daylight. I felt almost normal until I reached for my phone. It was sitting on the nightstand, still inside the Faraday bag, still off. But the screen was lit. My gallery had a new photo. I hadn't turned the phone on. I hadn't taken it out of the bag. The photo was of me, again, sleeping, in this very motel bed, with the same 4 clowns gathered around me. The note attached said, "You look better in the first one." Below that, the file name, Reddit, Komar blind feed. I sat in the middle of the bed and stared at the walls until my vision blurred. Something was doing this, something real, and no matter how far I ran, how careful I was, it was still watching, still sharing me, like a show, a nightmare with an audience. I didn't go back to sleep after that. I didn't even blink for a while. I just sat there in the motel bed, curtains drawn tight, phone in my lap like it was radioactive. I wanted to scream again, but I was scared that if I opened my mouth, I wouldn't stop. I'd shatter into pieces and never pull myself back together. I was being watched, not just by something, but by someone. Someone who was uploading this, distributing it, making me a star in a show I never agreed to be in. I Googled the file name, Reddit, Komar blind feed. Subreddit doesn't exist. But when I turned off Safe Search and dug into a few creepier forums, I started to see whispers. Not real posts, no threads that lasted more than a few hours, but cached pages, ghost links, screenshots people had taken before mods shut it down. They called it a rotating window. Apparently, our blind feed only existed for a few minutes at a time. A thread would go live, usually just an image and a title. Viewers would scramble to find it. When it disappeared, it was replaced with a new one. No comments allowed, no interactions, just voyeurism, just consumption. I found one blurry screenshot of the homepage. In the bottom right corner, beneath a post labeled "He tried to run photo 2 of 6, was a small line of text, blind feed, XE initiated. That was the first time I saw it. That cursed name. I assumed it was just a tag, maybe some developer's watermark. But then I found a post buried in an old thread on a dark web tech forum. The title, "Warning, blind feed. XE is not a program. It's a network." The body of the post read, "You can't uninstall it because you didn't install it in the first place." It gets into your devices when someone else gives it access, usually through an image, sometimes a shared file, sometimes even just a thumbnail. It hijacks camera access and syncs the feed to a rotating dark web archive. The more disturbing the image, the higher your ranking. If your photo goes viral, you don't know it at first. But they do, and they come back for more. The clowns are real. The photos are trophies. The post had no replies. The account that posted it had been deleted. I felt like I was drowning in static. I needed to see it for myself. I needed proof that this wasn't all in my head. So I broke my own rule. I turned the phone on. Not from the Faraday bag, but in my lap. Screen bare, fingers trembling. Nothing happened at first. I turned on the flashlight, shined it into the corners of the motel room, took a few pictures of the sheets, the window, even myself in the mirror. Just normal, just me, just this room. And then I checked the gallery. 5 new photos, not the ones I had taken. In the first, I was asleep again, this time lying on my side. The motel's hideous floral blanket was pushed down around my waist. One of the clowns was crouching beside me, black lips pressed close to my ear. The expression on its painted face was twisted. Not a smile, not a frown, just hunger. In the second, my eyes were open. The third showed me standing. In the fourth, the bed was empty. And in the fifth, I was back asleep, but something was wrong. In that last photo, there were no clowns, no visible figures, just me, curled up, hands clenched, like I knew something was coming. And in the mirror on the far wall, behind the reflection of the bed, there was someone standing there. Not a clown, not even a person I could describe, just a shape, humanoid, but stretched. The face distorted like a JPEG that refused to finish loading. And above it, faint but visible, was a time code. 3:14 a.m. I checked the time. 3:12. I threw the phone across the room and backed into the bathroom, locked the door, shoved a towel under the crack. I turned off the lights and sat in the tub, hands shaking, waiting for something to happen at 3:14. Tick, tickle. I could hear the second hand of my watch. I counted every movement. 3:13, 48, 3:13, 27, 3:13, 59, and then 3:13. Silence, nothing, no sound, no lights, not even traffic. The entire world held its breath, and then I heard it. A whisper from the other side of the bathroom door. Not words, not syllables, just breath, long and slow, as if something was inches away. I didn't move, didn't blink, just pressed my back to the cold tile and waited. The breath stopped. Then footsteps, 1, 2, 3. Soft. Then nothing. The next morning, I opened the door. The motel room was untouched, except on the nightstand. My phone was placed perfectly upright and screen on. A new photo displayed, asleep in the tub from above and in the reflection on the faucet. A smile, painted red. I didn't leave the bathroom for hours. Every time I inched closer to the door, I thought I'd hear something on the other side. Breathing, footsteps, or worse, that smile again. Not just a visual, but a presence. Like it had followed me into the motel, into the bathroom, into my body. I felt it under my skin. By the time I emerged, the sun was already up. The room looked untouched, clean, like I'd imagined it all. Except, of course, for the phone. It was back on the bed, A new folder had appeared in my gallery overnight. Feed 34 HT7. Inside were 36 photos, all from different angles. Some blurry, some crystal clear, some zoomed in on my face, my neck, my hands. Others showed parts of the room corners I hadn't noticed before. The ceiling vent, the tiny crack under the door. A few were so close to my skin, it looked like they were taken from inside the bed. And one photo, one of them, it showed my eye half open, like I was aware, like I'd watched them while they watched me. I don't know how long I stood there, staring at that single image. I don't remember sitting down or breathing. I think time just stopped until the pop-up appeared on my screen. No app, no browser, just a black window with red text. Welcome back to Blind Feed. Your rating, 14. Septifin. Viewer count, 43. Stantatu. Rank, 123. Top comment. She twitches when they touch her. Creepy but hot. I dropped the phone. This time, I did scream. I screamed until my throat was raw. Someone was watching me. Tens of thousands of someones, and they liked it. I snapped. I tore through the room like a madwoman. I broke the motel TV, ripped open every drawer, smashed the phone against the wall. I stuffed every scrap of clothing into my bag and bolted out of the room barefoot, not even stopping to check out. I drove. I don't even remember which direction. I just picked a highway and went. When I stopped for gas 3 towns over, I caught my reflection in the rearview mirror. I looked dead, hair matted, eyes wild, white smudges still clinging to the corners of my face. I scrubbed at them with a napkin until the skin went red. I should have called someone, family, friends, anyone, but what could I say? Hey, I'm being watched by clown demons who take selfies while I sleep and upload them to Reddit for karma points. No, that wasn't gonna work. Instead, I did the only thing that made sense. I went dark. I bought a burner phone from a shady electronics store. Paid cash. No ID. I left the motel phone in a dumpster, wrapped in aluminum foil and stuffed inside 2 plastic bags. I smashed my laptop too, just to be safe, just to be sure. And for a while, I was safe. 3 days passed. I rented a cabin through a handwritten ad I found on a bulletin board in a diner. No Wi-Fi, no GPS, no cameras, just wood, wind, and quiet. I started sleeping again. Not well, but sleep. I ate. I read a book. I even convinced myself it had been a breakdown, a hallucination. The stress, the insomnia. Maybe someone did drug me and post a fake pic. Maybe the cops were right. And then, last night, something new happened. My new burner phone buzzed once, just once, at 3:03 a.m. No ringtone, no message, just a soft vibration. I picked it up. The screen was black, except for one notification, one new image saved. No sender, no app, just there. I opened the gallery, and my soul dropped into my shoes. It was a photo of the cabin window, taken from outside, taken at night and behind the glass. Me, standing, smiling, wearing a clown nose. I don't own one. I don't remember that photo being taken. I don't remember standing at the window, but it gets worse. In the corner of the photo, faint but visible, was another figure, face blurred, but very tall. The caption underneath, burned into the image metadata, read, points awarded. 4 for setting, 2 for subject regression, next capture, scheduled. Don't forget to smile. They weren't just watching me anymore. They were grading me, They were tracking my mental collapse like it was a game. I'm not a person to them. I'm content. I was running out of exits. Every place I'd gone, every attempt at staying offline, off-grid, off. Everything had failed, somehow, no matter what steps I took. The watchers found me. The clowns returned. The photos reappeared. It wasn't just surveillance. It was involvement. They were manipulating me, or worse, curating me, like a project, a feed. After the photo from the cabin window, I didn't sleep for another 48 hours. I stayed inside, curtains pinned shut, phone turned off and buried in a shoebox of steel wool and duct tape. But even in the dark, even with no devices near me, I still felt it, like something humming beneath my skin, like being on stage without lights. I thought about the Reddit thread again, the original one that had hinted at blind feed, Xe being more than just malware, a network, and that's when it hit me. If they were watching me, there had to be others. There had to be other victims. I waited until dusk. I pulled the burner from its cage of tinfoil and powered it on. I stayed off Google this time, off the surface web. Instead, I went digging through the seediest parts of the internet. Pages with black backgrounds and red hyperlinks, posts that vanished after 30 minutes, VPNs stacked on VPNs. Eventually, I found something, not a subreddit, not a Facebook group, not even a forum, really just a post buried inside a ghost archive of a ghost archive linked through a Russian server and formatted like a message board from the early 2000s. Thread title: They put me on the feed to blind feed. Xe is real. Username: deleted user 4831. No replies, no engagement, but the content. If you're reading this, it's already watching you. That's how it works. They pull people in through images. Doesn't matter if it's a selfie or a shared meme. Once they've mapped your face, it starts. Your sleep becomes less your own. You wake up with no memory. But the photos always show more. They rate you, they push you up the chain. The more people react, the more they visit. Some people disappear. The ones who don't, they get worse. You start showing up in other people's feeds, people you've never met. Across the world, your face spreads like a virus. Mine was posted in Australia, Brazil, Japan. I can't close my eyes anymore without hearing laughter, that wheezing kind. The kind that builds too slowly to be human. If you're still in the early stages, you need to get off your phone. Get off everything. Stay in the dark. And for the love of God, don't smile in your sleep. I wanted to scream. Again, because I'd already smiled in one of those photos. Hell, I'd smiled in several, and now I couldn't stop thinking about why. Was something making me smile? Was something in the room with me, stroking the corners of my mouth like a puppet on strings? Was I even still me? Before I could spiral further, a new message box appeared on my screen. Not a pop-up, just a white text bar blinking in the middle of everything. You've been promoted. That's all it said. Just those 3 words. Then the screen blinked. My burner rebooted, and when it came back on, the gallery was full again. More photos, so many more. Me in the bathroom, me brushing my teeth, me walking around the cabin in my underwear, me standing in the kitchen staring at nothing for 8 full minutes. And then, one that made my heart stop. It wasn't of me. It was a shot of my parents' house, my mom and dad's place, taken from the tree line out back. I recognized the back porch, the ceramic wind chimes, the cracked lawn chair my dad refuses to throw away. I hadn't been there in months. I hadn't even spoken to them in 2 weeks. I opened the metadata, future capture, scheduled, score, TBD. viewer votes in progress. They weren't just watching me anymore. They were expanding their game board. They were using me as an anchor, a gateway to other people, other lives, people I loved, people who weren't part of this. I turned the burner off. I drove until my knuckles were white and my legs were numb. I pulled into a 24-hour diner with flickering neon lights and walked in looking like hell. The waitress didn't even blink. I think I mumbled something about coffee. She nodded and poured. I didn't touch it. I just sat there in that booth, bathed in yellow fluorescence and quiet Elvis songs, trying to remember what it felt like to not be prey. And then the TV above the counter muted. Black and white security cam footage of the parking lot glitched. Just for a second, a single frame skipped. But in that frame, I saw them, 4 figures, standing by my car, not moving, clown masks, hoodies, pale paint catching the street lamp glow, and one taller shape behind them, watching the screen. Watching me through the screen, the frame returned to normal, nothing outside. But I didn't go back to the car. I just sat there, still, waiting. The coffee was cold by the time I noticed the new text message. It came through on the burner phone, even though I'd shut off location, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and every possible way something could reach me. No number, no contact, just a blank header and a single line. They like you more when you're afraid. I dropped the phone. A sound escaped me somewhere between a gasp and a sob. The waitress turned from behind the counter, eyebrows raised. I forced a smile and muttered something about a bad dream. She nodded slowly, already disinterested. I didn't blame her. I looked like the bad kind of road trip. My reflection in the diner's window looked like a ghost, hair greasy, eyes sunken, skin pale and blotchy. I didn't recognize myself anymore. Not really. Not in that photo. Not in the ones on my phone. Not even in the mirror. But the part that really got to me, I wasn't sure if I ever had. I left the diner before the sun came up, ditched the car, took a cab with cash and told the driver to take me anywhere rural. I didn't care where. I just needed space, trees, mountains, somewhere without cell towers or traffic cameras. He dropped me 2 hours out, near an old hiking trail and a half-abandoned campground. I found a ranger's shed with a half-rotted roof and collapsed inside it. For once, there was no photo waiting when I woke up. No clown in the corner, no red nose in the shadows. Just me, sore and starving, with the wind blowing hard enough to drown out my thoughts. I almost let myself believe it was over. Almost. Then I turned the burner back on. I didn't mean to. I don't even remember reaching for it. But there it was in my hand, already open, already on the stream. Yes, stream. This wasn't just a photo anymore. It was live. The screen showed a room I didn't recognize, sparse and dimly lit, with yellow wallpaper and a creaky twin-sized bed. On it, a man was sleeping, mid-30s, bearded, wearing a blue shirt and boxers, mouth open, snoring softly. A small chat window pulsed below the video. User 29. He drools. Lame. User 7. Give it time. Wait for the mask. User 4041. Who's voting for a reposition shot? User 13. I want him to wake up and see the clown over him. User 66. Pluxy. And then, as if summoned by the comment, the clown entered frame. From the left, slowly, quietly, like it had always been there. Same makeup, same matte black hoodie, same impossible stillness. It stood at the side of the bed, leaned over the man, and didn't move. Just stared, inches away from his face. The stream chat exploded. User 10. Yes, user 91. Good form. User 201. New favorite stream. User 0. Emily, are you watching? I froze. That last comment. It was me. They knew I was watching. Before I could even back out, the screen cut to a new feed. This time, my feed. My view. What I was seeing right now. A live stream of me, sitting in the ranger's shed, holding my phone, eyes wide in horror. Behind me, movement. The stream showed it clearly. Something dark. Just outside the window, a figure rising, one arm pressed against the glass. White paint. A hint of red. I spun around. Nothing. The window was empty. The feed continued for another 30 seconds. Then it cut to black. Text scrolled across the screen. Feed 84 live 3. 2K viewers and rising. Next scene begins soon. Prepare the subject. I didn't know what that meant at the time. Not until I noticed the door to the shed was unlocked. I always lock it. Always. My stomach turned cold. I backed into the farthest corner, crouched with a crowbar I'd found earlier beside the rotten cabinet. My hands were slick with sweat. Then footsteps, outside, crunching in the leaves. One set, then another, then 4, shuffling, slow, casual, like they weren't even pretending to hide. The same way you'd walk into a house you owned. They were coming, and for the first time, I realized something I hadn't let myself believe before. I wasn't just being watched. I was being written, directed, like this was a script, and I was just an actress following lines I couldn't see, moving through beats planned by people I would never meet. And now, it was time for the next scene. I don't remember screaming when the door opened. Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I've screamed so much by now that my body's just run out of that kind of sound. But I remember the smell, old grease paint, latex, sweat and decay, like a mascot costume left to rot in the sun. They stepped in one by one, careful, deliberate, like they were blocking a scene, like they had rehearsed it. The same 4, the same clowns, not the cheap Halloween kind either. These weren't party store masks. These were painted faces, cracked and dry, white base with thick, black lips curled too wide, smears under their eyes like funeral makeup, hoodies pulled tight over their heads. One of them had a long, jagged smear of red running from its chin to collarbone, like a knife wound painted on, still glistening. The fourth one, the one that always stands closest, crouched, tilted its head, and held up a phone. My phone, not the burner. My original phone, the one I'd smashed weeks ago. The screen flickered on. My face stared back at me from a paused video frame. Eyes wide, mouth open, a moment captured just before something, probably this exact moment, went wrong. That's when I knew they'd never stopped recording. Even when I thought I'd gone dark, I hadn't. I was still streaming, still feeding them. I backed into the corner, crowbar raised, knees shaking. "Stay away from me," I whispered. "I'm not playing your game. I'm not your fucking content." But the one with the red gash just tilted its head further, almost sympathetically. And then it spoke. Not content, it rasped. The voice was dry, like old leaves sliding over each other. Wrong. Too soft, too slow. Human words stretched on non-human machinery. Catalyst. The others nodded in sync. Not a twitch out of rhythm. Not a blink. I don't remember the next few minutes clearly. Only that I ran. Out the door. Into the trees. Barefoot, bleeding, branches cutting my arms and legs. I don't think I even looked behind me. I didn't want to see what followed. I just wanted distance. I slept under a tree that night, or passed out. I don't know. I woke up covered in dew, freezing, shivering, knees pulled tight to my chest like a child. And in my lap was my phone. Again, screen on, app open, blind feed live, night hike, 18, 2K watching. They'd filmed the whole thing. My panic, my flight, my collapse. There were screenshots in the gallery. Me mid-sprint, me sobbing in the mud, me curled up beneath the branches, even one where I looked directly into the trees. Eyes glassy, pupils blown wide. The caption, you could feel her panic here. Tucked in. 4 and 10, very immersive. I threw the phone into the river. It didn't matter. It was already in me. I was the show. That's when I remembered something from the old post I'd read online. Back when this first started, if your photo goes viral, you don't know it at first, but they do, and they come back for more. It never said how viral was too viral. It never said what happened when the numbers went too high. So I started looking again. I borrowed a laptop from a gas station attendant, lied and said I needed to check my email. Once I got in under a VPN with a fresh identity, I searched blind feed Emily. No luck. But when I searched just blind feed girl, hundreds of results, fan edits, reposts, found footage threads. One Redditor had screen recorded a 3-minute chase scene from my stream and set it to synthwave music. It had over 200K views. Comments ranged from "this feels so real" to "she's hot when she cries." Another thread claimed I was fake, that Emily was a stunt actress, part of a new immersive horror ARG. They argued about it like I was fiction, like I wasn't somewhere out here, hiding in the dirt, bruised and bleeding and trying to outrun a fandom. But the worst, one comment stuck with me. User 337. They say if she gets to rank 100, the clowns take her permanently. Like, for the finale. My hands went ice cold. I looked up the blind feed leaderboard. I didn't even know they had one, but it was buried in the code of the mirror site. Hidden, like a secret menu. I found myself near the top. Emily Catalyst, you're 7th. Rank, Hakanal 1. Viewer count, 933. 447. Engagement score, 9, 18. I closed the laptop. I left the gas station, and I knew, without a doubt, that the next time they found me, it wouldn't be just for a photo. It'd be for the final episode. I kept walking. No real plan, just forward, down roads that didn't show up on maps, through towns too small for streetlights, past places that looked like they'd died long before I was born. I stayed off everything. No phone, no internet, no names. I slept in barns, behind abandoned churches, under bridges. I begged for food, stole a jacket from a Goodwill bin. It didn't matter. I wasn't trying to live. I was trying to not be seen. But one thing stayed the same. Every time I found a moment of quiet, just a second, where I felt like maybe I'd slipped through the cracks, it came back. The laughter, soft, hollow, not joyful, the kind of laugh you hear behind you in a dream, right before you wake up choking. Sometimes it was far off, other times just inches behind my ear, always the same tone, not human, not right. It started happening in daylight, too. I'd be standing in line at a gas station, pretending to read a map, and someone's phone screen behind me would flash, just for a second, with my face. One frame, gone before I could be sure, but the clerk's smile would linger too long. Someone at the pump would turn, phone raised slightly, then suddenly look away. I wasn't just being watched anymore. I was being recognized. A cult of viewers, people who'd followed the stream, people who maybe didn't wear the makeup, but laughed the same way, like they were in on the joke, and the joke was me. That's when I found the motel, capital M. That's all the sign said. Just motel, no name, no vacancy light. Just a rusted roadside dinosaur leaning at a 30-degree angle like the wind had tried to knock it over, but got bored halfway through. It wasn't on any map. I don't remember arriving. I just remember being there, inside. The wallpaper was yellowed and peeling, the kind of brown stains that could be coffee or blood, or something worse. The front desk was empty. No bell, no ledger, no key. But room 207 was unlocked. The door opened for me like it knew I was coming. The moment I stepped inside, the air changed. It felt dense, charged, like something was waiting. The room was identical to the one from an earlier photo. The one with the bed. The one where I saw another person sleeping. Except this time, I was the one in the bed. I stared at myself perfectly still, perfectly composed, lying there like I was made for it. Like a mannequin designed for display. I blinked. She didn't. I stepped closer. Her chest rose and fell. I was breathing, and then she opened her eyes. Not fast. Slow. Too slow. Like she'd been waiting until I was close enough not to run. She smiled. A clown's smile. Painted in red. That's when the lights changed. The walls began to shift. Peeling wallpaper turned into curtain backdrops. I wasn't in a motel anymore. I was on a set. I looked up. There were cameras, hundreds, hanging from the ceiling like vines, embedded in the lamps, the walls, even the floor. They were everywhere. And behind the two-way mirror, I could see them, rows of faces, blurred and indistinct, like a glitch, like pixels refusing to settle, all of them watching. And in the center, one chair, occupied by the tall one, the figure I'd only seen in reflections before, long-limbed, too tall for any human frame, wearing something like a suit but wrong, a skin suit, artificially smooth, a void for a face, but its mouth smiled, a hole full of flickering static. And then, for the first time since this all began, I heard its voice, clear, directe, inside my head. Season finale. You earned this, I screamed. I turned to run, but the door was gone. Only a mirror remained stretching wall to wall, reflecting back every movement, and behind me, the bed was no longer empty. The other me had sat up, still smiling, still painted, and the clowns were filing in. 1, 2, 3, 4, all perfectly positioned, symmetrical, just like the very first photo, the one I had found on my phone weeks ago. The beginning, no, not the beginning, the loop, because as they surrounded me, and the tall one raised a remote with one long, fingerless hand, I saw the cameras flicker, the red lights turned green, recording, and above me, on an invisible feed seen by thousands, maybe millions, my image froze, captioned. Emily Catalyst, Reception, rank Sanctum, final scene in progress. They weren't just going to kill me, they were going to immortalize me. The lights didn't flicker, they hummed low and deep, like a throat clearing behind the universe. The cameras were rolling, the clowns closed in, but I didn't scream, not this time. I don't know why. Maybe I was out of fear. Maybe I had gone so far past terror that I was standing in the dry, cracked silence on the other side of it. I just watched. I watched them move into position, each to their spot, like they were hitting marks on stage. Their arms hung like marionettes at rest. Their faces didn't blink, but they weren't mannequins. They were breathing. I could hear it. In and out, slow, synchronized, almost like a chorus. Preparing to sing, the tall figure behind the glass, what I'd started calling the director in my head, raised one hand. The lights overhead shifted into a soft, golden tone, warm, comforting, cinematic. It was all choreographed. Everything from the day I'd woken up with smeared makeup on my pillow to now. The show had always been running, and I had never been off camera. Then the clone, the other me, turned to look directly at me. "Don't ruin it," she said softly. Her voice was mine. Her tone wasn't, "You made it this far." "They like you. You're the highest rated stream they've ever had." I didn't speak. I couldn't, because I was watching myself speak back through her lips, as if my lines had already been delivered, as if the scene had already happened. "Do you know what happens to the ones who drop below 4? Nautu," she asked, still smiling. "They die, alone, screaming, unrated." Behind her, the wall shifted again. It became a screen. On it, hundreds of other people, caught mid-sob, mid-run, mid-begging, each one frozen in place like thumbnails. I recognized some of their faces from earlier feeds, from comment sections, from dreams, all failed streamers, former catalysts, all buried under ratings like digital tombstones. 32, Statun, to be, 7, 3, 9, Siri, Suedisa, a blink, and then the screen filled with me. Clips from every moment. My face in the Zoom call, my half-naked body surrounded by clowns, my motel breakdown, my hike through the woods, my breakdown in the gas station bathroom. Even now, live, standing here, all spliced together, all framed like an origin story. I was watching a trailer for my own demise. The chat buzzed beside the feed. User Mantri92. Best arc ever. User T3. This finale is insane. User Nanodot1. PLS don't let her die. Not yet. User Zeron. Smile for us. Emily, you're not afraid anymore, right? And in that moment, I broke. Not in fear, not in pain, but in understanding. I turned toward the director. He hadn't moved, but I knew what he was waiting for. The final gesture, the ending. I stepped to the center of the room. The clowns parted. They made room for me, the other me. The prop smiled and faded from view like mist caught in a fan. This was my role now, and I played it. I lay down on the bed, hands folded neatly, head turned to the side, a painted smile creeping over my lips. I don't know who put it there, but it felt familiar, like I'd worn it all along. The camera above me zoomed in. I heard it, a soft, mechanical purr. The final caption blinked on screen. Catalyst 007. Final entry initiated. User score. Knocking. 910. Archived. Locked. Thank you for watching. And then, stillness. But not death. Not quite. Because as the lights dimmed and the room dissolved into static, I realized something else. They don't kill you when your episode ends. They just archive you. That's why the ratings matter. You become part of the content library. The greatest hits reel, endlessly looped, endlessly watched. You become the photo, the video, the meme, the reference, the reaction gif. You live on every screen that clicked like. I wasn't the main character. I was a file, a favorite, and I felt it like a light going out somewhere deep inside when the last piece of me was uploaded. No more breath, no more hunger, just a smile and a rating. I used to think death would be the end, that when the last image fades, when the lights shut off, when the screen goes black, there's silence, peace, closure. But Blind Feed doesn't do endings. They do loops. Ever since the final entry aired, I haven't moved, can't move, but I'm still aware. That's the part that keeps digging claws into my brain, the awareness. I don't breathe. I don't blink. But I feel everything. I feel when people are watching. It's not a metaphor, it's a sensation. Like heat, like pressure behind your eyes, like every screen that displays me is another open mouth. And I'm the thing they're feeding on. Because I'm still on display. That final scene, the bed, the smile, the clowns. It's been replayed 1,000, maybe 1,000,000 times. Fans dissect every frame. Some think it was art. Some call it fake. Others have tried to remake the moment with their own blindfolded girlfriend. With red paint and filters and mood lighting, they all miss the point. They're not watching a scene. They're watching me. A version of me that no longer breathes but never truly died. A version of me that's stuck inside the machine, the room they used. It's not real anymore, not physical. It's been replicated, turned into a looping digital space where viewers can visit via augmented interfaces. There are comments, so many comments. They scroll endlessly under me while I lie frozen in that perfect, rated 9, smile moment. She looks so peaceful. I wonder if they drugged her first. Her eyes kind of follow you. That's next level uncanny valley. Wish I could buy this as an NFT. Imagine if she knew we were still watching. I think she does know. Look at the flicker in her left eye, at timestamp Survon 48. That flicker, that was me, still conscious, still trapped, still waiting for anyone to stop watching. But they don't, because once you're archived, you're accessible forever. Blind Feed doesn't just show you to people, it injects you into the culture, into memes, into TikToks, into subreddits and horror countdown lists. You become mythologized. There's a YouTube video titled Top 5 Most Haunted Blind Feed Captures. I'm number 1. They don't even say my name anymore, just Catalyst 07. Some think that's scarier, cleaner, more mysterious. It's not a name, it's a SKU number, a file, and the worst part, sometimes, in the stillness, I hear others, other finales, other catalysts. They whisper to me in static. They aren't nearby, they aren't in the same room, but they're in the same place, the shared digital limbo, where Blind Feed locks us in like exhibits. We all got high scores. We all got endings. We all became favorites. And now we lie frozen while new catalysts get scouted. New videos get streamed. New victims wake up in their beds with clown paint on their pillows. And no idea they've already auditioned. And when those people, those younger versions of me, start searching for answers, they find us, our clips, our feeds, our faces, and the cycle starts again. That's how Blind Feed spreads, not through tech, through attention, through eyes, through fear, through the obsession that makes you watch, then click, then share. You're doing it right now, aren't you? Reading this, wanting to know how it ends, hoping for some kind of escape, a redemption, a trick, a loophole. But there's only one rule in Blind Feed, and it's the only one that's ever mattered. Once you're in the frame, you never get out. There's one last thing I haven't told you, and maybe it's because part of me didn't want to believe it. Or maybe it's because I didn't realize until now, until all the noise of the stream died down, until the chat faded to silence, until the ratings stopped updating. You're part of this. You've been part of it since the beginning, because if you're still reading this, if you've followed the story all the way here, then you've been watching me too. This isn't a story. It never was. This is a feed, a test, a trial run of a new feature, something Blind Feed's developers, if you can even call them, that have been building for months. It's called Watcher, Exe. Unlike Blind Feed, Exe, which infects the subject, Watcher infects the viewer. It doesn't need access to your phone. It just needs your attention. a few thousand words. A story compelling enough to hold your gaze, to make you scroll, to make you stay. That's the payload. And by staying with me this long, by watching me, you let it in. Don't check your gallery. Don't open your camera. It's already there. It starts the same way every time. You wake up with a headache, maybe some redness around the eyes. You tell yourself it's screen time, allergies, stress. Then the first image shows up in your phone's recents folder, a still shot of you asleep, taken from the foot of your bed. You'll think, that's weird. Did I roll onto the camera? You'll delete it. It'll come back. Then you'll get one of me lying on the bed, me smiling that painted smile, me looking at you through the glass. And then, somewhere deep in your phone, in some hidden system folder you didn't even know existed, a new file appears. Catalyst log 01. It grows over time. Each night, each dream, each second you pretend this was just a story. You'll feel like you're being watched, because you are. You'll hear soft laughter when no one's around, because they're here. And one night soon, you'll find a photo of yourself surrounded by 4 dark figures, standing perfectly still, staring at the camera, and at the center, a tall one, faceless, smiling. You'll want to run. Of course you will. But here's the truth. You can't run from what's already inside you. So don't bother smashing your phone. Don't bother deleting the files. Don't bother going to the police. They'll shrug you off, just like they did with me. Because this isn't about breaking into your home. This is about broadcasting you. And once you're in the system, you're content, just like I was. You'll move up the leaderboard. The views will climb. And when you hit rank 100, they'll come. They'll stage the finale. Your room will become a set. Your life will become a loop. And when it's done, you'll lie there, just like me, still, aware, archived. And the next person will start reading this story, and they will think it's fiction, just like you did, until the moment they realize it's not called blind feed because you're blind while being fed. It's called blind feed because you never know when you're the one being eaten.